We're kicking off another virtual discussion, and joining me today is Kent Wehri, Food and Nutrition Services Director from Colorado Springs in beautiful Colorado. So again, Kent, I really just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. We really appreciate it, and I am super excited to hear about your perspective on everything that's going on.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. We would love to share information and see if we can help each other and help other school districts get through this and get into the next school year, so that when it comes around, we have a plan and we can execute and we can get those kids fed. So thank you.
So Kent, now that the summer is setting in, what are things looking like for you and your district in Colorado?
Sure. So we've flipped over from the emergency feeding plan to straight into the seamless summer option, hybrid summer food service option that we've kind of created. Just like everybody else is trying to do. We're still trying to feed kids. We are still trying to do the non-congregate feeding model. And so we're still doing drive-throughs where we usually would have lots of options for partnerships with the local libraries or enrichment programs. None of those things are happening right now. So we've had to kind of scale it back a little bit to just run our normal, what we've been doing, emergency feeding and drive up at our schools. We have implemented a few mobile stops with our driver fleet, and our vans are actually our own employees. And so we are still trying to fill little pockets that people aren't quite close to the schools. But it is a scaled down version of our normal summer food service program.
So with that, are you seeing, I hear mixed from districts across the state, like across the United States. So I hear a lot from the districts here in Arizona, and I'm hearing some saying that their summer program they're serving higher numbers now because it's kind of still based on the USDA waivers, but yet some are seeing lower numbers because, like you said, they don't have the ability to use those partnerships. And as it starts to warm up in the summer, you have some kids that don't want to be out walking. What are you seeing then in your
we are
area?
we are seeing pretty steady numbers compared to last year in our program. The addition to add breakfast and lunch is helping with those numbers as well. And we're also doing the option of serving meals for Saturday and Sunday as well. And so Friday they can come in and pick up basically 6 meals all at the same time. So that kind of keeps our numbers up, but we're seeing the decrease at the sites themselves. We're actually starting to see a decrease from where we were about 2 to 3 weeks ago. The numbers are starting to slow down a little bit as it's getting warmer and as people are, transitioning from what would normally be the school year to now summertime. So it'll be interesting to see how we can sustain this for the next 2 months, but I think we'll do okay.
And then same thing, right? We keep thinking we're all kind of in the same model, but we're really not, because you no longer have school in session, even though it wasn't in session. But how are you handling that now that you don't have the buses that you were using before, because those bus drivers are no longer on contract?
So we were using 5 bus route drivers for a couple weeks to hit a couple of our mobile home parks and a couple of the other areas. We've implemented our actually food service fleet drivers that we run. So we've been actually driving our own refrigerated trucks. We've been driving some vans. We've been driving some just white panel trucks as well. And so we've transitioned into actually, employing a few more people than we were just a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's good for them, right? And I guess it's also what's good for the kids. So do you have any insight to what your first day of school looks like? Do you look like you're on track? Has Colorado said anything about start dates?
They've started to come out with a little bit of some guidance. Some of that is a 10 to 15 maximum students in a classroom. Some of them are saying that the students are supposed to stay with one teacher all day. And then some of the guidelines are saying that we are to transition to a on-off schedule. So a student will be there on Monday, but then off on Tuesday. And so then they'll rotate. That is what we're hearing right now. And that was just this week, but there's some big concerns about that. And our biggest concern really is, what are we going to do with those kids that aren't actually at school that day? And how are we going to feed them when they're being told don't come to the school, so we can keep our numbers below the population that they want for that school for that day? So we've got some huge challenges coming up, and that's not even to think about the service model.
Right.
They have said that they don't want anybody in the cafeteria. So we'll be looking at how to trade a model for lunch in the classroom.
Hmm.
Well, that's going to be difficult when you try and talk about hot options and things like that, where kids want to have a choice. Where we're trying to do a salad bar, that's going to go away. Now everything's going to be portioned in plastic containers, and lots of moving parts and lots of stuff up and down the halls. And it's one of those challenges that you just kind of think, how am I going to do this? And at the same time, we do offer breakfast in the classroom at a few of our schools already. So I think we can do it. It's just now it's flipping over to more of the hot option stuff.
Right. And then, like you said, I mean, you're right. Are we not thinking about the kids if it is that off model? Just everything. I mean, how are we going to handle them at home? How are we going to feed them? A lot of balls in the air trying to figure out which one,
Yeah,
which one you're
exactly.
going to land on.
Yeah,
Um, so in your perfect world, right? I mean, what is that today? What would it look like for you for the start of the school year?
sure. In a perfect world, I would say go back to normal. Now, I don't think society is going to allow that. So I think for the most part, a perfect world would be um, a hybrid model, of food service, a hybrid model for kids in schools, and then having some massive partnerships around the city with the food banks and the care and shares and all the people that are helping already to try and fill the pockets for the days that the kids aren't in school. And so that's going to be our biggest opportunity this summer, is to figure out those partnerships and those things that we can work with together to figure out how to get those kids fed that aren't at school those days. We've got to come up with a method to a perfect world to get, if we are going to do options, then they're going to have to look for a service model and an ordering model. How is that going to look? So kids can make those choices, because we can't just guess and throw down 50-50, 50% each, and see if the kids are going to eat it that day. So, but that's what I think is going to be the best that we can do right now.
So talking about, you brought it up. So actually I was just having this discussion about an ordering model, right? What would that look like for you in your district? Like, would that be still trying to give the kids the same type of menu that you were already, that you maybe menued last year, right? Where you had a couple entree options, or would it be more like we're going to put these meal concepts together and you kind of order by the concept?
Yeah.
What would that
Yeah, and I
perfect
think
world?
it's for us in the perfect world, the biggest challenge really is that what we serve at elementary school is not what we serve in middle and high school, and what we serve at middle school is not what we serve at high school. And so at high school on a given day in our district, we can have up to 12 options for kids to eat. And so what is that going to look like at a high school
Right.
level of how do we get kids to eat? Elementary, a little bit easier. I think, we've been up to 4 hot entree choices a day. And now we could probably scale that back to 2. And I think that's probably the best that we can do for those kids.
Uh-huh.
From an ordering standpoint, I've done Google Docs, and I've done ordering, just through some really simple sheets like that with the teachers. The hardest part is always trying to get those counts in every day. And so
Right.
if a teacher's not there, or if it's a substitute, or if they're late and they don't send them down, that throws the whole system off. And so to create a
Right.
very easy, streamlined process for parents and for students and for teachers to get that order form filled out online, that gets down to the cafeteria so that we can get our food out to those kids.
True. So is there anything that we as an industry partner, any industry partner, can do to make your life easier?
Yeah. I think come up with that, ordering system. What is the best way to get online ordering system? Is it a, web-based? Is it a Google Doc? Is it whatever form that it is? It has to be simple, has to be easy.
Mhm.
Is it an app? Is it something that parents can have on their phone and order for their kids? That's the type of thing that I think will help the best. We have to come up with, from an industry standpoint, from a production standpoint, more mobile options. How are we going to get food down to the cafeteria, from the cafeteria down to the classrooms? We're going to have to look at different options and different methods of holding the food.
Right.
we were, starting to really start to get a push for going green in our district and having less and less and have as much, reduction of styrofoam and plastics as we can. And
Mhm.
now we're going to have to go completely the opposite direction and increase that to the other side. And so, um, more options and more choices and good price points for items that we can use to hold and transport that food.
And that's so true. Something else that you don't always think about, trying to reduce, and now we've got to actually add to that to be able to deliver it and make it available.
Yeah.
Yep. All these all these crazy unknowns that keep popping up.
Yes.
Um, is there anything else? Again, we definitely want to make sure that we support you as much as possible. I know what it's like to be in your shoes, right? It's
Yeah.
everything's coming from every direction, and all you're really wanting to do is take care of those kids. So we do want you to know that, again, what we can do on our end. And I know that even from our colleagues, um, industry colleagues, that everyone is the same boat, trying to make sure that we're supporting you the best we can.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest other things right now is the supply chain, and what are the industry partners hearing from the farmers, the ranchers, the growers. We were running into some serious supply chain issues when this started happening, and we couldn't get fresh produce for about 2 weeks.
Oh,
And so, are those supply chain problems going to persist? What is the forecast? Are we going to be able to get the food that we need to serve kids when school starts up and we start all serving larger amounts of food again? Because I'm worried about that,
right.
because it was a big problem when this all started, is we couldn't get food all of a sudden. So those little things that we have to start thinking about down the chain are on my mind.
Well, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate all the hard work that you and your team are doing to continue to take care of the kids in your district and in your city. Um, so thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you guys for everything that you've done as well, and just keep sharing the secret, sharing what everybody else is doing, because we're not, you know, um, prideful of good things that we do. We'll share everything we can. So, if anybody else has any better ideas, let me know, because we would sure love to use them. So, thank you.
I have always said that, right, about this industry. There's no competition. That is one thing that, well, in terms of the operators, it's how can we help each other to just make sure that the programs are the best that they can be. So definitely continue to share best practices and try to help the districts as much as we can.
Yep, absolutely.